Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Jets, Knicks, and Mets fans. My name is Nick, aka Goody, and with me is my old man, aka the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. Jets, 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 Jets. Jets get the win on Sunday against the previously undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Talk to me, big guy. How we feeling?
We're feeling pumped for sure. I mean, listen, I thought that they had a chance to win. The defense did what it had to do. Zach didn't make the big mistake, and we came out with the win. Good things to say all around, frankly, about the team, about the coaching, everything. I'm sure we'll get into, but yeah, I'm feeling very pumped. It's a great way to go into a bye. I haven't felt this good in quite a while as a Jets fan.
Well, I mean, listen, last year we were 6-3. I felt pretty good, but I will say Thank you, Jets, for doing this and getting this huge win and, kind of changing the narrative on the whole season right before the bye. So I can have 2 weeks straight of wanting to listen to sports talk show radio, sports radio and listen, especially to the New York radio stations and whatnot. So it's really good to be able to do that for sure. I just, they did exactly the things that we talked about last week that they would need to do to be able to get this win. The defense was huge. We turned them over. Zach didn't have the huge mistake. Offense definitely left a little bit to be desired, which we'll kind of, diagnose and dissect a little bit more. But, overall, I just thought it was a great win. It was a great win. And as you said last week, as we both talked about, and as Salah said after the game, any given Sunday.
That's right. Any given Sunday. Yeah, the NFL is so crazy, man. You can't take anything for granted. It's just, nothing's for sure. That's why so many people get bounced out of King of the Hill so easily. And it really is. You just never know. If you don't come with your A game, you could get burned. And I definitely want to get into that. We're talking about the games going forward because the Jets, we're all believing now they could have this record and that. I mean, last year showed us, man, nothing is written. You got to play every game. No win is assured.
Yeah, like you said, we will talk more about, kind of what we're looking to see from the rest of the season. But quite frankly, especially with this quarterback, there's no time where I'm going to say like, oh, we should beat that team and feel really confident that we're going to, because that New England game ain't too far away, and we all remember what that looked like. And I mean, even the Dallas game, when you've seen them play in subsequent weeks, it's they don't look as good as they looked against us. So we definitely have to stay on top of all the finer details and make sure that we bring it every single week. But first, let's talk about the defense. I mean, defense continues to be dominant. I mean, Jermaine Johnson had such an impactful game. Yeah. He created 2 turnovers. He was all over the field. That play that he makes on the interception that ends up, just basically being in Quinnen Williams' lap, where he diagnoses the screen, reverses, gets back up the field, makes the play on the ball and knocks it out. He's just turning into that guy that they talked about all summer. They talked about in preseason, and in training camp, how he had leveled up, and now we're getting to see it. And he's a real impact player on the edge for the Jets.
He's amazing. He's just really, like you said, he's becoming everything we thought he could be. And frankly, what the coaching staff said he could be. I just feel like these guys are really tuned in to their players and their personnel. And we're playing at a very high level, especially on the defense. Brick is a fantastic defensive coordinator. I hope he doesn't, get a lot of attention come off season, but he very well might. And but he's really, really good. This guy, Jermaine Johnson's fantastic, but you got to look at the other side and look at this kid, Bryce Huff. I mean, I don't know what you do with that guy. I just thought about it as you were talking about him, because everybody's saying, sign Bryce Huff now, sign Bryce Huff now. And you will have to sign him soon, but at some point you may have to choose between the two of them,
Yeah, we still got a few years, obviously with
with
Jermaine
Jermaine?
Johnson. You know, he was a first round pick, so that means I think we'll get four years and a fifth year option with him. So
Right.
we can kick that down the road a little bit. Bryce Huff though, yeah, I mean, some people tell me it's there's some skewed stats when you start talking about pressures or these different things, and when you see him just far and away better than everybody in the league, not just this year but this year and last year. But at the end of the day, when you watch the games, you see that guy, he gets home a lot. I mean, and even
A
when he
lot.
doesn't get to the point where he actually makes the sack, he's impacting plays all the time. His get off, his jump is crazy. I mean,
Incredible.
sometimes when you slow it down, he's so far into the neutral zone by the time that snap is actually being made. And like, it looks like he's cheating because he's ahead above everybody else. And he's
Mhm.
always just getting through. He had of just a monster game as well. My man Mosley with the punch. I love
Mostly
that
with
by
the left
Mosley.
hook.
Yeah, man, with the left hook strong. That was a huge play in the game as well. Just the defense, they have this bend but don't break philosophy, and they do it to a T. For some reason, when it comes to the very first drive of the game, we're not so great at that. But 19 plays, these guys go down on us.
Oh my gosh, that was brutal.
We were getting home on
Yeah.
we were getting to Jalen Hurts, but that guy's so strong and he's so good at just kind of slip. They're very different players in a lot of ways, but when it comes to in the pocket, he reminds me of Roethlisberger, where Roethlisberger,
Oh
you
yeah.
always said a guy.
Hard to take down.
Yeah, and you had a guy who you thought had a free shot and was right on top of him, and he just steps to the side. And then that one play that he makes where, he's stiff arming someone as he's making a throw to the
Still
sideline.
able to deliver a pinpoint pass. It's just amazing. I was like, this guy is incredible. But what you see and what you're seeing with the Jets in all of these games is the Jet defense wears on people. It's cumulative and it really has an effect. And the fact that we're fresh in the fourth quarter and we've been wearing on them all game, it has an effect. That's clear. So I love how that looks going forward. That's very it's amazing to think what that could be like going forward. And now it's time. We need to see some level up in the offense, but I think we've seen some. I've always been tried to be somewhat positive about Zach, but I think we're starting to see. I believe. Okay, I'm a solid believer. I believe when Salah says we're this close on offense. I believe that we there's a couple. There's always a stupid mistake. There's a stupid penalty, a stupid block that results in a sack, or just a missed pass by Zach. But you haven't had a lot of those. What you've had a lot is the things around him going wrong, or stupid play calling, too many runs in tight situations. But I think we're close, Nick. We're close. I'm telling you, close.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the adjustments and how the defense wears on you, a couple things one thing that thrills me as a Jets fan, I feel like forever we've always just been on the other end of a coach making great adjustments at halftime, and then the second half they seem to have us figured out. And it looks like we finally are the team that does that, especially defensively. One defensive touchdown given up the entire season, as you brought up, last week, and then obviously against the Eagles we didn't give up any touchdowns in the second half as well. So, like, to me, the big thing is not only do we make the adjustments, but we also have these grander schemes throughout the game that we're playing where, and there's been some great breakdowns online of this, but on that last interception to kind of just seal the game,
Yeah.
that the way that they put Tony Adams in that position, that they had put him in so many times, and somebody had blitzed from that position, and then he dropped back, and he said the coaches said to him, just drop back, he's going to throw it right to you. And that's one
Yep.
of those where if you look at that actual play and the breakdown of it, Orlovsky did a really good job. He's talking about the fact that, and this is exactly what you were saying, is how we wear people down. Jalen Hurts had all the space in the world to step up on that play.
Mm-hmm.
He let that ball go when there was two guys primed right there to make a play on the ball, and the receiver had no shot. And it was the cumulative effect of us consistently getting to him and us showing him a look where that safety blitzes, and now this time he drops back into coverage, and what do you know? Look what I found, and the game is over. So, yeah, I mean, I just, I can't say enough about Brick. I do think he is going to get some attention in this offseason. Salah seems almost to be asking for it, talking about how he kind of checks all of the boxes. In what he said that in one of his post games, saying that Brick checks all the boxes as far as a head coach. And yeah, man, I would love to be able to figure out how to be a little bit better on drive one. But once again, at the end of the game, you look up, this team's got 14 points, their lowest point total. There's another great MVP level quarterback who had his worst game against the Jets. And, other than the Cleveland Browns, we're looking like the best defense in the NFL. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that, our top 2 and 3 of our top 4 corners weren't able to suit up this past Sunday.
That's right. That's right. I mean, and it's all scheme and coaching. And I heard somebody bring this point up this week. What you're seeing with the Jets that we hadn't seen in the past is you're seeing clearly player development. What you're seeing is young guys that are coming up from the practice squad, that are second and third string, that are coming into the game, and they're playing in our system, and they're playing it well. Why? Because clearly we've been working, and these guys have been coached up in our system. And there were years before where if a new guy came in, it was just, anything could happen. Anything could happen. So this guy, I just really feel like the organization seems well run right now, and that's part of why I think continuity is so important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're seeing it there. We're seeing it with the Knicks for, the first time in what seems like a long time, that continuity. And, it's starting to pay its dividends, like you said. You talk about players developing. Q2, another monster game, 12 tackles, had the fumble recovery, tried to scoop and score, almost gave it back. Thank God he was able to find his way back to the ball and get on top of it. But yeah, and that play that he makes on the Eagles' last drive where they throw it outside, and I think it was to Devontae, and he goes to try to make a move, and Q just comes like a straight missile and boom, puts him straight down. And then when he puts him down, him, and Salah, and I'm sure a whole lot of other Jets fans were all doing the best celebration in the NFL. I love that picture of him and Salah doing it at the same time. So cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, listen, if you want to talk about developing a player, I think I would love to hear an example of a guy like him who has leveled up as much as he has within one system. Just, the whole story about him and his brother, same team, very just super cool. Love to see those two thriving, and both got a turnover in the same game, which that was the first time it had happened since, many years before. But yeah, man.
Yeah. I saw, I wanted to make the point that the person who made that point about player development was Ryan Clark when speaking to Chris Canny. And he was saying how in Baltimore, in Pittsburgh, that's what you see. You see guys that come up through the system and they're developed properly. That's why those teams are so consistent for so many years. I mean, they're always, the standard is the standard, as they say, right? Let's get a Jet standard. That's what it's about, man,
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, but yeah, Craig James. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here in front and act like I knew who Craig James was, a week ago. But he comes up and has a great game against two very good receivers. And you think about, hey, if we have Sauce, some of those times where where you got some receivers either getting open or just like straight up bodying like some of these smaller D-backs that we have. If that's Sauce, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
AJ's not going to be able to get off like that if it's Sauce that's playing in some of those zones. So yeah, and that's a great point when you compare them to, the Baltimores, the Pittsburghs, those teams. It seems so consistently that they draft and develop their talent, and that they create a certain mindset about how we're going to play the game. And I just hope that 5 years from now we could talk about the Jets like that. Bryce Hall, big game once again. Great from him. My man Breece Hall, he seemed like he was so close to breaking the big one. And there was that one play where he made the spin move to get the first down, and it seemed like a very, like a somewhat normal play. But when you stop and you look at that, the move that he made, somebody got straight through. He makes the spin move. He gets the first down. We need to feed him a little bit more. But I just think the game plan dictated that we throw more. And
Right.
Brees, I did like when he caught the ball out of the backfield and was able to
I
turn it.
love him in the passing game. I love
Yeah.
him in the passing game. He's just a dangerous dude, man. He's gonna. I'll tell you, he's that close. I mean, come on, man. When you look at the yards he's gained just compared to how many times he's gotten the ball compared to other people, it's outrageous. It's kind of like the stat with Bryce Huff with the rushing the passer, how that's skewed because he gets so less chances, but he gets pressure every time. They're both amazing, amazing talents, and
Dynamic.
they're being well developed. Yes, definitely dynamic.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, Brees, obviously we got to feed Brees. He looked good. Back then, he's good for at least one or two, false starts per game, it seems like. But he did overall have a pretty good game. He had that somewhat viral moment where he, pancaked the guy and then pointed at him. I thought that was pretty cool.
I can take one false start if you're constantly doing stuff like that to people.
Yeah, well, it's just about when
it depends on the moment, though. It depends on the situation.
It depends on when it comes. Those false starts can kill you sometimes, and we definitely killed some drives. I mean, listen, Alan Lazard, I disagree with the rule. I think it's shitty as well, but it's the rule, and we know it's the rule. We not only had a glaring example that you can't crack back block in the preseason, but it was on hard knock. Like, it's just, come on, guy. Like, you can't do it. And then the very next play, he has a ball that hits him in the chest. That could have at least put us back into field goal range. And that's the thing. That play where he makes the crackback block, we're looking at 1st and 10, I think, on like the 11. And then it ends up being 2nd and 25 on the 50.
Yeah, it's amazing. That was such a turnaround. I saw a guy in the game Monday night, and this is how you have to do these blocks now. He did a block where he literally just had his hands up like this. He just got in the other guy's way, which is exactly what Alan Lazard could have done, and no one would have gotten hurt. He wouldn't have gotten knocked down. The other guy would have been impeded from making a tackle. But the guy just literally put his hands up like this and stood in front of the guy. That's what you got to do nowadays. There it is. I mean, it's getting crazy. It's too. I don't want to sound like the old man and start screaming about it's too soft and all that, but it's. I don't know how guys are supposed to adjust to this. It's very difficult.
I mean, it just seems like there's certain players, mostly receivers and quarterbacks, and certain situations even where you don't have to protect yourself on the field. Like, everybody else has to protect you. You can, like, you should have to have your head up and not be looking for the fact that somebody might crack you right now. And if you don't do that, I definitely realize why they have to, the whole hitting to the head. They have to bring that. They have to continue to try their best to make sure that that doesn't happen. But I just think it just gets impossible. I've seen so many plays over, the last few weeks where guys are making perfect form tackles that you would, put in a video about how to make a tackle, and ends up getting called the wrong way. And I don't even understand really how the ref in full speed is supposed to be able to make that call. So, and they say, the way that they're coached on it is throw the flag. And when in doubt, throw the flag. So, and it's not reviewable. I just think that that's something that, as the game guys continue to get bigger, stronger, faster, they're either going to have to make that reviewable, eye in the sky, real quick, boom, look at it, say yes or no, or they're going to have to. That's really the only thing, because they're not going to make the game more barbaric. They're not going to do that.
Make it more violent. No, they're going to have to, and they have to protect their investment. That's part of what the NFL is doing too. I mean, people love to come and see quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs do amazing things on the field. And nobody's paying that much money really to see the left guard or the right guard. Nobody, I mean, most people, unless you're a fanatic like you or I, they never even really watch what these people do. So, I mean, those are the guys getting hurt and getting hit like that. So I get it. As a purist, is it kind of a bummer? Sure. But I understand what we're trying to do, but just please don't let it go any further or much further.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's what it seems like everybody is screaming for. But like you said, they got to protect that investment. Zach overall, 19 to 33, 186 yards. He had that that throw to to Cobb for the 2-point conversion. What was a laser. He had some other good throws. Sometimes
Good throw to what's his name? That deep throw to Garrett Wilson.
Oh yeah, beautiful throw, and I mean just a phenomenal catch. I mean an unreal catch.
Yes.
Yeah, glad also that Garrett's going to get a couple weeks to chill out and get his body right and everything, because he was a little gimpy towards the end of that game.
Right.
And then I think that I think probably the most underrated, like overall, just like weapon that the Jets have is the combination of Morstead, our punter, and the defense. I think that's
and then people back.
Well, I mean, and you saw it where we had a couple times where we could have kicked a really long field goal, and the game plan was, oh, no, Morstead's going to come in, he's going to put it inside the 10. Once he puts it inside the 10, and then we bring our defense out there, we're either going to get a safety or we're going to get a quick turnaround, and we're going to get even better, field position if we don't take the ball away. So I just think that that's such a weapon. I think that clearly we, like I said, those decisions were made because they're super confident in both Morstead and the defense and their ability to pin them and then, turn that into either points or an advantageous situation.
Yeah, no, Morstead is fantastic. He does a good job. And our punt coverage is fantastic. Like the Wolf, that guy is friggin' amazing. Irvin Charles.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people say, well, why isn't Mecole Hardman getting any time and all this and all that? Hey, simple fact of the matter is he doesn't play special teams really unless he was returning. Obviously, they felt Gibson did a better job in that, and as long as he can hold on to the ball, he does. And this guy, the Wolf, I mean, as a gunner, he's fantastic. I mean, he gets so few plays, and he constantly just shows up doing like serious coverage things, and because this guy gets the great hang time. So all of it works in concert, and the special teams this year is fantastic. Who would have thunk it? No Mike Westhoff, and we got a good special teams.
Right. Greg the Leg made me a little bit nervous with one of the kicks, but other than that, he did what he usually does. As far as Mecole, obviously we know he's out. He's been traded back to the Chiefs. Chiefs have no weapons, so it makes sense for them. We swap picks with them, get their 6th-round pick. I get the vibe that he was one of these guys that was a bit of a malcontent, like that, or like he was either that or he wasn't studying, and he
wasn't a quick study.
He's given me, both like Mims vibes, like remember Denzel Mims and kind of how that all went down with him. He's giving me a lot of Denzel Mims vibes.
Getting a lot of Mims vibes, no doubt. And listen, it's just not a big deal to me that he's gone. I mean, come on. I had no affinity for the guy. I wish him well, but okay, it didn't work out. We took a shot, and we move on.
I don't wish him well.
Why? See, I don't have a problem with people.
Listen, I would be a little bit annoyed if all of a sudden he just he's really like when I turn on a Chiefs game and he's got 4 catches for 126 yards, just because. Listen, as far as I think that the Jets, if they can make a move for a receiver, before the trade deadline, I think we could use an extra weapon or two. I don't want to see too much more Randall Cobb on the field where he's just getting pushed on his back when he's trying to block. And Randall Cobb being my slot receiver makes me a little bit nervous, to be quiet. And Lazard is okay, but he's nothing to write home about. So, I mean, if Corey Davis, whatever personal issues you had or whatever, can we talk to Corey during this 2 weeks and see what's good with him and see if he's ready to come back and play some football? Because I do think we need another weapon.
Corey's finished. It's over. Okay. Corey's gone. You're not getting him back. I don't know, man. I think, receiver wise, who you got? So Lazard is pretty good, I think. And Randall Cobb, you're right. He's kind of done. We need to move on from Randall. His minutes need to get minimal. But who would be in Randall's spot?
Gibson.
Okay, and I'm very happy with that. Let's start giving Gibson some of those reps.
Gibson's got like 2 career catches.
I know, but I think he can get more. He looked good in the preseason. Okay, he dropped the punt. That's the only thing that he's done wrong is with the punts that night. He was a little scary, but he's gotten past that. And I like giving the young guys a chance. I don't see bringing in a big-time receiver now. Some big-time receiver is going to come in and expect the ball X amount of time. It could just upset the apple cart. could bring bad vibes in, bad vibes around what we got going positive with, like, the room and Zach and all that. I don't need some
And
diva type receiver coming in, man. I just don't need it.
they need to get over that shit. If you can go out there
Who's
and
the
you can
diva guy? Who's the receiver you'd want?
Devontae.
Devon, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Devontae Adams.
I definitely don't want Devontae Adams after what I heard that he's talking about. I'm not really as concerned about wins. I'm concerned about being great. And I get it, what he's saying and all that, but
Did you listen to the whole quote? Or did you just
I did. I did. I listened to the whole quote. And I get it, what he's saying. I get it that he wants to be great, and he is great. First of all, I think something like that would have been better left unsaid, as with many of these things. Maybe he was a little too glib, but he's just, I don't know. I don't need a big time receiver like that, Nick. We don't have an offense that would sustain that. What are you going to take instead of throwing to Zach 10 times now?
Garrett.
I'm sorry, Garrett. You're going to throw to this guy, Garrett, 5 times now, so you can throw to Devontae 10 times? Because we're going to want 8, 9 throws a game. Where are they coming from? Who are you taking them from?
So I take them from the 19 of 33. So my thing is,
Right.
is like, we want to get the, I mean, I would give up. I'd give up a first round pick for Devontae Adams. I mean, I think that, especially since he's A-Rod's favorite guy too. If you have most of the great teams, their second receiver, most of the good teams, their second receiver is a lot better than Lazard, and their third receiver is definitely a lot better than Randall Cobb. So
you're making Garrett your second receiver now.
Yeah, X and Y. There's only a few guys that I would say that for, as far as like, there's only a few guys that I would say right now that, like, hey, he's the number one and Garrett's the number two. But I just think that we need more talent on the outside, and I think that part of Zach's issue is, guys aren't getting open. They're not, he has one player.
Randall gets no separation.
He gets no separation. He's ancient. He's the guy that, if he's playing with Aaron Rodgers, he has a little bit of value. If he's not playing with Aaron Rodgers, he has almost zero value. So yeah, and don't ask him to block anybody because he's a fucking joke. But nah, man, I just listen. If you can go get Devontae, you gotta get Devontae, in my opinion. And some people say that, like, a guy like Cooper Kupp, they might be willing to take offers on him. I don't know, but I think that if you can get a big time receiver, or even not a big time receiver, but just a better slot receiver than Randall Cobb, you got to make it happen.
See, now I heard a name that I thought was good. Right. If you could get a slot guy like a Hunter Renfrow,
yes,
possession receiver like that on the inside, that works for me. I don't need an outside guy. I don't need that. I want Garrett Wilson to be my number one receiver on the outside. That's it. He's that guy. He's that good. We drafted him. He's our guy. I don't want to draft now a better guy than him for the outside. I don't think that does well for us, but hopefully we'll see what Joe Douglas thinks in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna see trade line, rapidly approaching. My man JD, him and Salah with the big bear hug. Salah jumped into his arms like he was a little boy. JD obviously previously being with Philly, that was big for him to get that win, even a little bit more so than it was, just normally going and beating Philadelphia. But yeah, that was a cool moment. Thought Salah. What do you think about Salah saying that we embarrassed these 3 great quarterbacks?
I think he could have made a better choice of words. I don't think you want to say that. I don't think we embarrassed anyone. I think we played very well against them, and and got them to feel our defense. I don't listen. I'm not upset about it or anything. And if anybody else is upset about it, I don't care. But I feel like, just like he said the next day, he walked it back. He said, I could have made a better choice of words. And yeah, he could have. But okay, well, you talk in front of the camera that much, you're going to say some things that you wish you hadn't said.
Listen, I have no problem with it. I'm sure that Josh Allen will be asked about it in the week leading up to our next matchup. But overall, like, you're fired up. Just played a football game.
Right.
I think that Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts would say that they were embarrassed by their performance that day. So
that's true. That is true.
You can't. Listen, hey, it is what it is, and I also like the idea of I'm confident in this defense. I'm confident in what we can do. I'm gonna talk my shit because I know we can back it up. So I'm not mad at him for
Yeah.
that at all. What do you think? I know that you have just totally dismissed any talk of my man Aaron Rodgers coming back this season. But I know that you also saw the guy on the sideline transferring a weight from one foot to the other. That patented, motion that he has, getting some throws in. Are you starting to believe that my man Rodgers could come back this season?
I mean, listen, anything's possible, but I don't really think it's going to happen. But I mean, you know what, man? If this guy's that amazing, I just don't want him to go out there naked and run around and start prancing around and explodo once again. Dude, I think it's very risky, especially when you're talking about a man of his age. And what I think they need to do a serious study on is if he comes back, say late in the season, we've made the playoffs, everything's rosy, Aaron Rodgers comes back. If he should get hurt, what's the recovery time then? You know what I mean? Is that just, if he should get hurt right then, is it career over? I mean, would he be back for mid next season? Is it worth it? I don't know. It depends. I mean, obviously, if we make the playoffs and he can come back, it will be worth it if everything went well. But if it doesn't and it's kablooey, there might be some serious regrets.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, it's going to be up to him and the medical staff if he's ready.
Sure.
We know for a fact that he right now is way ahead of schedule. And I mean, I've heard people who have had the surgery talk about it, people who have seen other people, I've seen doctors talk about it, and they all say it's amazing that he's even moving around as well as he is right now. So we got a shot, but at the end of the day, I still think, us getting to the playoffs is only going to happen if Zach continues to step up and continues to develop. So we're still going to go only as far as he takes us with Zach, with these games that are coming up. Obviously, coming out of the break, we have 3 games in a row that we feel like we can win. But there's no sure things, especially with the quarterback that we have. But got to beat the Giants, got to beat the Chargers on Monday Night Football. The game against the Chargers is at home. And then we got to beat the Raiders the game after that. So like if we can come out, we can win those 3 games. Then we're at 6-3. I feel really good at our chances of getting to the playoffs. I don't think Miami's as good as everybody thinks they are. I really did some looking into the different teams that they've played and some of the teams that they've put in these huge numbers on. And then, in the games where they play a decent opponent and all of a sudden they don't look as invincible. I'm really interested to see when we play them because we match up well with them. We matched up well with them last season. And I think that we're going to put the clamps on them a little bit. And, Tua, they should all be happy if he makes it out of that game, not concussed, not with little birdies flying around his helmet. So I think
1,000%. I was thinking that the other day. This guy got to be careful that game, man. If you see Michael Clemens' number coming close to you, just go down, man. Because somebody on the Jets is going to commit some serious violence that day. And these next 3 games, game against the Giants, I'm very, very, very nervous about that game. That's going to be a tough game. You never know. The Giants actually played tough the other day, although they lost. They did play tough for a while, and I just think that those are tough games. That game against the Chargers is going to be amazing. I will be attending that game at MetLife Stadium that Monday night. I will be in the house, so I'm hoping for a big night that night against what's his name, Herbert, the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Herbert, they haven't been what everybody thought they were going to be this season. They're having a down year. Their coach is under fire. They always go for it on 4th, and it seems like they never get it.
Guy is out of his mind.
What
is wrong with this guy?
I get sometimes looking at the analytics, but sometimes it's the feel and the overall scenario at the time. And also, do you ever take into the statistics like how well you've done in recent memory? Because it seems like they never convert when they go for it on fourth. So hopefully we see some more of them not converting when they play against us. Just like Jalen Hurts didn't convert, I still not have seen an angle that shows that he scored a touchdown on that 4th and 1 against the Jets. I have not seen the angle, especially with the initial call being that he didn't score. I don't understand how you find the definitive angles to be able to overturn that. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with that. I just couldn't believe that. I had actually, when after he scored that touchdown, I stepped out into the backyard to get something, and I came back in and I saw the score up, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" Or after he had not scored the touchdown, I come back in and it's 7-0, and I'm like, "What is going on?" So yeah, it was very disappointing. And another thing we spoke about briefly, but I've seen a lot more analysis on. I think it was the exact right thing for the Jets to score just right away when they got the ball at the end of the game. You just don't mess around with things like that, Nick. What happens? You get a drop snap, you get a Tony Romo moment, something. Listen, you have a chance to score a touchdown. Score a touchdown. Now you got to go 80, 90 yards, 75 yards against my defense. Now let's go. This is where I want to be. Let's go. Come on, man. You can't mess around, or give those guys a position where they only have to get in field goal range. They would have had to go like 30 yards.
Right.
Come on, man.
I initially thought I was like, he should have went down there. And really, honestly, the main thing that made me think that was the fact that I saw that they were trying to let him score.
Right.
But I was wrong. There's a couple things. I mean, and just listening to Salah talk about it and listening to, kind of and some of the things that you're saying right now and, some other analysis of it. First and foremost, we don't have the offense where we cannot take points.
That's right.
We gotta go.
Take them.
We ain't scored in the red zone. That's like our biggest, issue right now is being able to score in the red zone. So if you can go ahead and get the touchdown, and then also, like you said, we're still going to have to give the ball back. So if we end up, taking 2 downs, then maybe on 3rd down we don't score. Now we have to kick a field goal. We give them the ball back with 55 seconds left, and all they needed is a field goal. Yeah, that makes no sense. So it did make sense for us to go ahead and score right there. The other thing about Jalen Hurts and throwing that ball, the reason that he should be embarrassed by his overall performance and that throw in particular is that was the only thing that they couldn't do right there, which was let us get the ball already on the 10-yard line. We hadn't been able to move the ball the entire second half or really the entire game, with any type of consistency. So if you just punt the ball away right there, I'd love to say that, Zach would have come out and let us down the field, but I'm surely not confident that would have happened. He didn't show us anything in the entire game that he was going to be able to do that. So that was the worst thing that they could possibly do was give us the ball, not only back, but give us the ball back on the 8-yard line.
Well, like you say, it was embarrassing. There's no doubt about it. And something I thought about while I'm watching that game, if Zach Wilson has the game that Jalen Hurts had or even Herbert had the other night, we're running that guy out of town by now. He can't have a game like that. And these guys, Jalen Hurts, people are talking MVP for this guy. Come on, man. It just goes to show you in football, you could be great, man, but that's why I hate to invoke his name, but a guy like Tom Brady was so impressive because of the consistently great, just game in, game out, season in, season out. Things can turn around so much in pro football depending on who you're playing, who's playing around you. And that's the main thing that they did for him up there is just the consistency up front. That's the thing you have to establish for any quarterback. And once you do that, then they have a chance to really shine. But, yeah, Jalen Hurts, come on, man. He was booty that night. So was Herbert the other night. So hopefully he is again in a couple weeks.
Yeah. And, Zach's just got to continue to just, continue to get a little bit better. I'm not confident he's going to become some great quarterback, but we don't need him to be great. And if he can avoid the mistake, and like you said, those mistakes that Hurts made are typically the type of things that Zach does, and he was able to stay away from those. And it's not even like he had like balls that like hit Dbacks in the hands and they just didn't pick him off. He played a pretty clean game. Offensive line's got to be a little bit better They weren't great.
Yes.
We end up losing Titman. Obviously, that's a tough one right there.
Brutal.
But offensive line wasn't great, but they were able to give us enough time to make a couple big plays, and we were able to basically just lean on the defense and get it done, just by a razor's edge. So we'll see what happens as the season goes on. Let's go Jets. All right. So let's pivot to the Knicks. Knicks have lost 3 straight in the preseason. Are you nervous?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not happy. I don't like it. Again, just like the NFL, but in the NBA, if you get slacking and you have like a 3-10 run, that's almost impossible to come back from. And this team better wake up, man. We better be able to guard the 3. We better come out there and play tough every night and give our all every night because, I mean, honestly, I think we both believe this team could be over a 50-win team, but that's only if we play to our potential. I mean, virtually every night. We don't have like these highly talented guys who can go half-ass and we're still going to be in the game because it's not like I don't know how many guys. I don't know that we have any guys on the team who are just certain guys just are fill them up types. They're just always going to make put up so many points. I mean, Julius is probably the closest to that, where he's just pretty consistent with putting up just points, points, points. And same with Jalen, but Jalen Brunson on occasion will have an off night. My point is we have to be dogged on the defense to hope and believe that we're going to be in these games and win a lot of these games. We cannot half-ass it at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we had the one game against Boston where we sat 3 of our starters. I don't understand why the NBA is doing these back-to-backs in the preseason. It makes 0 sense to me. But yeah, so we returned the favor to Boston when they played us back-to-back. They sat all their starters. When we played them the next time, we sat all of ours, and they actually played all their starters deep into the game. This past matchup. Your man, Jaylen Brown, I don't know. I don't think he's worth really all that money, honestly. Jason Tatum, he's one of my favorite players in the league. He looks like he's gotten stronger and just looks like he's just going to be an absolute, nightmare to deal with. But these games do give me a little bit of pause. And one of the reasons that they do is, remember Tibbs' first year, he comes in, we're the 4th seed. We have, all these expectations going into the next season. And then we have a down year. We missed the playoffs. Now, last year we were able to rebound and, have another successful season moving on to the second round. But Tibbs, we've seen this story before. I hope that the way that the preseason ended is going to give him, a good reason to make sure that everybody's focused in this last week. I saw Julius talk about the fact that we need some more urgency, but the defense yesterday in the game against, the Wizards are supposed to be one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. And Jordan Poole was doing whatever he want. He was straight up cooking my man, RJ.
Cooking.
RJ used to be, when he first came in, I thought he was going to be a plus defender. And now it seems like I've seen games against Tatum where he, really, really dug in. And I'm not going to say locked up, but challenged Tatum the entire game and really got the better of the matchup. And then there's other games like last night where Poole is just, running around like he's at an open run in the summertime, just putting up shots and, just killing them. I mean, him and that guy Muscala, they killed us in the first quarter and then again in the third. Both had huge games. I think Muscala at one point hit 5 threes. But yeah, man, I just think that we got to tighten up on the D. I mean, like you said, we can't afford to take nights off. That is our identity. It's what makes this team go. And I hope that they tighten things up before next week because, that's when things start for real. And first night out the gate, we have Boston, who looks like they're going to be a juggernaut. And, we're going to be in the Garden. You don't want to come out that first night and get embarrassed. And like you said, you can't start off 3-10. All right. We pulled ourselves out of that hole last year. We weren't able to pull ourselves out of that hole the year before that. We have to have a strong start, and our early schedule is tough. So from the very beginning, they need to bring it. My man Brunson looks. Yesterday, I saw him do a couple things that were so uncharacteristic, where he's in the lane and he's got an easy 10-footer, and he instead tries some like silly up and under pass that ends up being deflected and ends up in a turnover. Another time he was in the lane, and I think Julius was in the corner. He had just an easy kick to Julius, but then he again tried that up and under to Hartenstein, ends up being a turnover. I don't worry too much about Brunson because he seems like such a steady Eddie type. But I get a little bit worried knowing that he got married this offseason. He went and played in the Basketball World Cup. I'm just saying he had a really busy offseason.
Yeah. These guys need some time off, man, some time to relax. And he was a very busy young man. And, you just worry. Of course, you worry. And we just have to be ready to come out and play some real D, Nick. I mean, if we're not playing real D, we're gonna get run, man. We're gonna get run. And that first night against them, your man Zinger is looking a little more menacing with that facial here. Okay, he looks like he's bringing it a little tougher now, to Latvian style. I think that I'm very, very nervous about that opening night game. That's a scary, scary night, frankly.
Yeah, listen, I think that especially in the Garden, it's gonna be hard for us on opening night. It's gonna be hard for us not to bring it. We've had some good success playing the Celtics on opening night in the Garden. Here recently with RJ hitting that buzzer beater off the glass. But yeah, I'm just really nervous about Brunson and the offseason that he had. I do love I love some of the things I've seen out of DiVincenzo here recently. Grimes. One thing that I see out of Grimes, and I noticed this in the game against the Celtics, where he played really well. He was, 7 of 13. He hit 7 threes. But the next part of his game, and it's something that I heard he worked on this offseason, but I saw at one point where the ball gets kicked to him, and he wanted to go for a quick three, and the guy comes out to him, and it was like a secondary break, so there was nobody really in between him and the basket other than his one defender. And when he went to look up for that shot and he didn't have it, he kind of just started looking for the pass. And I'm thinking like, yo, if this guy is going to get up in your chest on the 3-point line, you need to be able to make a move and get to the rim and lay or dunk on his ass. And
Right.
I think that, he didn't even look to do it. He didn't even think about doing it. He hadn't put the ball down. He still had his dribble. And once he didn't have the shot, he immediately looked to kick it. So even in a good effort by Grimes that night, that was one thing that I noticed. I would definitely like to see him be able to just create, put the ball on the floor because he has the athletic ability. He seems like he has the handle. He just has to do it.
We've seen him do it before. We've seen him do it a couple times last season. He can absolutely do it, but he needs to do it. And obviously these guys get nervous about getting stripped and stuff like that. But he's got to do it. He's got to bring more of that to the table, in my opinion. But he will. I believe he will. So we got to be ready next week, next Wednesday. We got to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're a wing play in today's NBA, even your power forwards and centers can usually handle the ball. If you're a wing player in the NBA and you're worried about you got one man on you and you're worried about getting stripped and you don't think you can take him to the basket when he's in your chest, then you got some work to do. So I need to see Grimes get a little bit better at that. And now, not at the end of the season or next summer or anything like that. Like he needs to start, but putting an emphasis on that now. I think that totally changes our team if he becomes a guy who's not just a 3-and-D guy, but can also create shots at the basket for himself and be able to create for other people.
True. If he was able to drive to the lane like that, now you're talking about the dish in the lane. Now things like that. He's got to, I mean, I can't believe that this guy wouldn't have worked on, if he's a great 3-point shooter or is a good 3-point shooter and starts having people run at him, he's got to be able to take a couple dribbles, either go all the way to the hoop or take a couple dribbles, pull up for the short jumper. I can't believe he hasn't worked on that. It defies credulity that he wouldn't have worked on that this summer. So I don't know. We got to see what happens, man. I hope so. We need to see improvement in this game. I believe we will, but we need to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. The one bright spot from the game last night was my man Julius. Julius had 20 points. He had 10 in the first quarter. I mean, the dunk on Muscala. And I love. There's so many times where I see Julius, and he had hit a couple threes at that point. So sometimes when he's hit a couple threes, you kick it out to him, that shit's going up. And he pump faked, just went into the lane. I mean, and just a massive throwdown from my man Julius. He had a great run in the third quarter to almost basically bring us back into the game, hitting some threes. And he just looks way more decisive. It literally seems like the things that we always talk about, as far as the getting in and the all the different pump fakes, the going straight up, and just being a lot more decisive. And I also saw him yesterday have two very calm conversations with the referees. And one point,
right?
he said something to the ref, and the ref said something back to him, and he just went, "Yeah, okay," and walked over to the huddle. And I was
That's a
like,
first.
I'm telling you, man,
That's
that beats
literally never
believing
happened before. I don't know who got in his head, but he's listening to some of it. And listen, that move and that dunk, that's something that we've seen Julius do before. I want to see more of it. Let's go. Let's go. Because you cannot stop him in that situation unless he gets stripped, of course. Keep the dribble down, Julius. But if he doesn't get stripped, you're going to have to either seriously hard foul this guy or let him go, because he's going to smash whoever's in his way.
Right.
And I don't know. Guys taking a charge from that guy, I don't know that you want to do that. You're going to get hurt. But that's how Julius has to go to the hole. He has to go hard, knees high. If you want to take a charge, so be it. Let's go.
Yeah, no, definitely. And he just seems to me to just, there's a couple times where I saw him, get into the lane and the defense collapses on him, or he tries to move and the guy's still there and he just makes a quick swing. But then I also see other times the shot that I've been begging for, whenever it seems like he takes a short jump shot in the lane. In previous years, it's always after like a bunch of pump fakes, and then the guy's right there, and it ends up becoming a really difficult shot. I've seen him during the preseason, and especially in last night's game, get into the lane and just make one move, and then off one foot, and he's doing that one foot. You could tell that's something that he practiced all summer, because I've seen him do it more just here in these 4 games than I've seen him do, maybe ever. But that off that one foot and that short jump shot, and I've seen it actually hasn't fallen a ton thus far, but I think it's a shot he definitely can make, and a shot that he can get off whenever he wants. And
Pretty
when
much.
Julius starts letting the defense dictate, and he can shoot the three, if they're there, I dribble into the lane and I can take this little short shot. If nobody wants to come up and challenge me, I can get all the way to the rim and I can throw it down on somebody's face. And it seems like he can do all of those things. He
Yeah, he
just
can.
has to be a little bit more like water, and take the game as it comes, and just react to what the defense is giving him. And I'm starting to see signs of that. And I love the fact that after the game he talked about urgency, and the fact that we need to step up and we need to be ready for the season. That's what I want my leader doing. Seems like he's in fantastic shape once again. Julius is gonna have a big year, man.
He needs to lead defensively. That's really what we need out of
Yes,
him. If
yes.
he leads defensively, the team will follow. And that's just obvious. So he needs to lead defensively, and that could take us a long way.
Yeah, yeah. Deuce, it seems like maybe he can shoot. He all of a sudden Deuce is hitting a few shots here and there. I saw there was one play against the Celtics. He got a lot of run in that game, where he went in and he finished like high off the glass on a drive. And yeah, I mean, if he can add that to his game and be somewhat competent from three, then that just takes him from being a guy who's always going to be in a roster to a guy who's going to be in a rotation. Obviously, he's vertically challenged a little bit, but yeah, man, that jump shot and that ability to get into the lane and finish over, the taller guys is what we could see take him to the next level.
Yeah, you could definitely tell he's been working, and you always love Deuce's energy and his defense. So, he brings it every night defensively. I love that about him. And again, we're developing people in our program, in our culture, and I like that. He's one of our guys. I like that.
Yeah, Quick didn't play in last night's game. They say he has an ankle. I've heard rumors that there is no ankle, that he's on the verge of signing his next deal, and they don't want him, out there playing, if that's the case, because obviously, you tear an ACL or something like that, and that changes everything. I don't know if that's true or not. We have up until next Tuesday night to go ahead and get him signed on that deal. If not, he'll become a restricted free agent in the offseason. We got to get him signed, got to get it done. I'm sure he's asking for a big number, but I think that number is only going to get bigger as the year goes on. So we definitely got to do that. I love DiVincenzo and Hart on the floor at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell, like, Hart had a really good backdoor pass to DiVincenzo yesterday. DiVincenzo blew the layup, but DiVincenzo, he's got great hands. And when he plays on defense, he's always getting his hand on the ball. And there's just certain guys in like if RJ had DiVincenzo's brain defensively or just want to defensively in his body type, he could be such a great defender. But no matter what, we've seen it forever. Certain guys just don't want to do that and don't want to bring it on that end of the floor every night. But DiVincenzo is one of those guys that does. Glad he's on our squad, and he's got unlimited range and can fill it up.
Yeah, no, I love DiVincenzo. I think we're gonna love the fact that we signed that guy, steady guy, and I love his style of play. Fits with the other guys on our team, obviously. And I think Quick, I would be excited. That would be good if we could sign Quick before the first game next week. That would be awesome, man. I'd feel really good for him. I think he's a good young man. I actually think, and I read something about this week. See, a lot of people say like people don't like Tibbs and whatnot. I think this team, the guys like Tibbs.
Oh, the players love him.
They love him, and they say he's hard on people, but they love him. And a guy who I've seen him be very hard on quickly absolutely loves him. Same with Randall, but he isn't as hard on Randall. But he, these guys really like working with him. So, I think I hope it's gonna work out this year. And we can't go on a skid, man. No skids.
The only person that doesn't love Tibbs is Evan Fournier.
Oh, yeah. Evan played okay in a couple games, but, listen, Evan's a great guy if somebody gets hurt, but, it depends what we can get back for him. Maybe we can do something, by mid-year.
He just doesn't give you enough. And,
defensively, he's a joke. Come on.
Defensively, he's a joke. Offensively, he can't really create for anybody else. He basically can, catch and shoot or catch one dribble shoot. That's basically his game. And, I do feel a little bit bad for the guy. I mean, you got his countryman Rudy Gobert is coming up and speaking up on his behalf, and obviously he wants to go, but your contract is too much of an asset right now for we're going to keep that to be able to include in any sort of trade. So giving you up for nothing doesn't make any sense. And when it really comes down to it, when you look at the Knicks wings, whether it be DiVincenzo or Grimes. And and then I guess Quickly plays, on the wing sometimes, even though he's more like the backup point. You're not playing in front of any of those guys. Sorry, guy. I mean, unfortunately.
No, but if one guy gets hurt, we need you.
Yes.
One guy gets hurt, we need you. So, I mean, sorry if you don't understand that you're a spare tire right now, but you are. We're paying you handsomely to be that guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
That's the life of an NBA player.
Just $17 million to be a donut, But listen, the guy wants to play. I get it. But
of course,
it's just not. It's not going to happen here on this team. I could see him being a guy that, like, a team like the Lakers or somebody, coming up on the break. That when they're looking for another shooter to put around LeBron, they'll look for a guy like that and maybe 100%. Be willing to give us something that we're willing to take back. What do you think of the Harden situation?
Listen,
I know he's your least favorite player in the league,
and I want to make the point that years ago, when literally everyone was singing this guy's praises, I told you, Nick, he's not a good guy. I told you I didn't like his game. I don't like his attitude. He just didn't look like a good guy to me. It wasn't just the beard that bothered me. It was just the way he went about things. I've never been a big fan of his game. I get it. He scores a lot and whatnot. I don't like his style of basketball. I don't think it lends itself well to the playoffs, which is what we've seen be the case with this guy. But beyond all that, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, clearly this guy thinks like he's still a top flight player. Maybe I can't even say the words. Evidently, he still believes he's a max player.
Yeah.
Do you believe that someone will give this guy max money, knowing that he disappears in the playoffs and that he disappears now quite often during the season and preseason? Will this guy? Nobody's giving him max money. So
no.
I don't know why he's acting like he's all that. I mean, dude, if you want out of Philly, I would think you need to, work nice with Daryl Morey. And then the other thing that I'm interested to see with Nick Nurse, after this bullshit this week, okay, where, as I understand it, he missed 2 days. They didn't know where he is.
No call, no show.
No call, no show. Your preseason with your team. First of all, your teammates got to be looking at you like, dude, if I'm the coach, man, if he starts opening night next week, Nick Nurse is, come on. I can't believe he would do that. But watch,
Yeah,
you're going to see.
that's a good point. I mean, listen, if you want to create an atmosphere that's about accountability, I don't see how you can just go and start this guy right now. I mean,
I don't
Harden
know if he'd
is
play.
yes, yeah. If it's up to me, yeah. If it's up to me, yeah, he's not even playing. But I mean, the thing about Harden is he better than okay, so he's making like 30 million this year, but then you got a guy like
Right,
Jaylen Brown making 60 million. Okay.
right,
So
right.
he's maybe he's not half the player Jaylen Brown is, but he's also not a max player either for
No,
all of the reasons that you just detailed. The thing to me is, and I'm almost always pro play whenever it's something that's player versus
right.
organization or versus league, I'm almost always pro player. But the thing is this is that yo, if you are holding out because there's just some terrible wrong has been done to you, and now you're going to have to start forfeiting these checks, and I think he loses like 389 million, I mean, I'm sorry, $1,000 for every game that he misses if he starts to actually miss games. My thing is like, yo, man, you make a lot of money. If you want to show up and then get there and then not work out, not do stuff, that's one thing. But no call, no show. They don't know where you are. I just think that especially when you make that kind of money, I think that's crazy. I mean, listen, the organization, they make sure that the check's clear. It's up to you to make sure that you're
Present.
at least present, or at least communicating with these people. That's crazy that you're now making your everybody in the organization, from the owner down to the coach and your teammates, you're making them answer all these questions. And I get it. You're trying to make this situation so horrible that they're just like, fuck it. All right, let's get rid of this guy. But at the same time, I think that just the no call, no show, not even communicate, not even letting these people know where you are. I think that's bullshit. I think that's poor form on his part.
Oh, incredibly poor form. And honestly, I don't get it, Nick. This is not a smart way to get what he wants. Not if I'm the
Worked for him
GM, and
before.
clearly not for Daryl Morey. Exactly, though, Nick. Exactly. He's done this act before, and he thinks he can just do this. I mean, that's why I'm saying to you, I don't understand who would be foolish enough to sign this guy to real money. I mean, why in the world would you want to sign this guy to real? He's showing you over and over who he is. He wants out. He's going to try to burn the whole house down. I don't want that guy anywhere near my team. I don't even know. I hope you're not on the court when we play the Sixers. I don't want to see you. He's toxic to me, man. That guy's radioactive. I would not want him anywhere near the Knicks, please. He's garbage.
Yeah, nah, no Harden for me. Got to jump to baseball real quick because I just saw that the Diamondbacks, they won in the bottom of the ninth, 2-1. I got a couple buddies at least three of my friends are at the game.
Yeah.
Shouts to Luke, Marty, and Tom. But yeah, they're at the game. I'm sure that it was crazy. It looks like Kettle got a walk-off base knock. So
Nice.
Kettle Marte. So yeah, man, good for them to win the
Nice.
game. I'm glad that they're not just going to get, swept straight out of the NLCS. Definitely don't want to see Philly move on. Philly seems like they've been an absolute wagon so far, just, mashing the ball all over the place. But now it's back to 2-1. The Diamondbacks will come out next game and they can get this all evened up, and, a playoff baseball can continue out here in the desert.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that they won. My buddy Dean Justice is at the game. I know he's excited and going home all pumped up. I think that it's a good win, and they gotta have a shot here. It's going to be tough with Philly, like you say. They have, I mean, they're just mashing the ball. But you know what? Again, baseball, any night, you never know. Who's your next pitcher to move? But let's talk about the other series. Your man Scherzer.
Yo, he's just another Met who we signed a big money and he immediately just, falls off the cliff. But at
No,
least
no, no, no,
this
no, no, no,
time,
no, no. Don't say that. He was very good for us last year, Nick, until the
until the end of
playoffs.
the season. Exactly. And he
Right.
fucking
But I mean,
sucked.
he had some
Not just the,
great
not
wins
not just the
throughout the
playoffs.
season.
That last series against the Braves, he sucked.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm just happy that at least once we were able to realize this and ship him and be able to get some decent prospects back for him.
That's right. That's right. He's spent, Nick. I think he's done. I really do think he's done. Not, he's never going to be, his best is not that good anymore. And there's zero chance, in my opinion, he'll go through a whole season without getting injured. Okay. That can't happen anymore. I think he's got maybe 1 or 2 more years as a mediocre pitcher. But I think he's been so great. I don't begrudge him. I don't wish him badly. I mean, I wish him well. But I hope a guy like that walks away soon enough and does. He just seems like he wants to stick around. I think like Verlander. I think Verlander might have a little bit left, a little more left in the tank than Scherzer.
Yeah, listen, I don't think Max Scherzer is going anywhere until he, as long as he's getting 40 something $1 million a year. I mean,
Right, right.
he's gonna play that out. But yeah.
But how many more years does he sign for on this contract? He's got maybe like 2 more years,
Two
right?
more. Actually, I think there's a third year, and the fourth year is either a team or a player option. I don't
Wow.
I don't recall.
Okay. Bye-bye.
But yeah, listen. thing about him is that even in the years that he has been good, he's now faltered late in the season and in the postseason, going back to when he was on the Dodgers. So he just doesn't have it anymore to have the ability at that age. And I mean, how many guys do when they're as old as he is? So I just don't see him being able to, continue to be a top line starter. And clearly he's been getting paid top line starter money. Another veteran in another sport who has been in a similar situation recently where, I mean, really his whole career, where it seems like he's always nicked up come playoff time. Do you think CP3 is going to be successful on the Warriors? How do you think that whole thing is going to work out for them?
Well, I mean, he's not a top flight player, so you can do as much load management with him as you want. I mean, that guy should take a couple of weeks off in the second half of the season. And I mean, if they can bring him, wrap him in bubble wrap for the last month of the season, and bring him to the playoffs. I mean, the guy's a steady Eddie type, but it just always seems like he's either coming off an injury or he's just running on fumes by the time the playoffs come. I need that guy, I need that guy pepped up and ready come playoff time. And, listen, I mean, he's a great player. Great players and he's a guy who understands the game of basketball. He's not just a physical freak who's jumping over people. He's a guy who knows the X's and O's, understands the floor game. I think him and please, I mean, if Steph's shooting the lights out and this guy's feeding him the ball, that could get bananas. And then, just all the other guys on that team, it could get interesting. I mean, I think that guy could be successful. They just got to keep him healthy. I don't know. That's the biggest part, though, right?
Yeah, I think that this is the best situation that he's ever had because they don't ask that much of him. So therefore, they can, manage his minutes. Like you said, if he could get, some sort of time off in the second half, with some sort of fandom injury or some shit like that, I think that's what they got to do with him. And I think they will be able to. And when you see it on the floor, I've watched some of their games in preseason. When you see them actually on the floor, I see it working. I mean, I think that him playing with the Splash Brothers is basically his wet dream. I mean, him being able to get into the lane and those guys are running around, running off screens, and him being able to kick it to them. The amount of just attention that they draw and how that will open up the lane for him, I think is going to be. This is the perfect situation for him, and I think he's going to be valuable for that team because I think that sometimes what you see is, especially in the playoffs, when the Warriors have looked, a lot of times they look invincible, but some of the times where, they have struggled, it's been the fact that in the game, when the game slows down, people are all over Steph. Clay can't really create for himself, and then that dribble handoff thing that they do with Draymond out at the, the elbow extended, In the playoffs, when everybody is bringing it and everybody's dialed in and the team's playing you for, 7 straight games, things like that start to just not be as effective. And what you need is sometimes somebody you can give a ball to and say, hey, make a play. And Chris Paul is one of the greatest at doing that in the history of the NBA. So I think if
Right.
they can, like you said, put him in bubble wrap, keep him healthy until the end of the season, it ends up being an overall good situation for them. It's unfortunately that there's a lot of big ifs in there for them.
Right. And if they make a hell of a run, by the end of the season, it's going to be, let's win one for Chris. That whole team is going to be rallying with this guy. I want to win for this guy. And everybody can see him hugging the trophy and crying after it's all over. It's going to be, let's win one from Chris. They will be the sentimental favorite.
Yeah, and you know what? That would be a cool story. I like Chris
Yeah.
Paul. I like Chris
Nobody
Paul.
doesn't like Chris Paul.
That's not true. That's not true.
Who
He's
doesn't
got
like? I
a
mean, he's a tough
lot
and
of
gritty
lot of
player.
haters.
I get it on the court and whatnot, but what? Like fans who hates
Yes,
Chris Paul?
a lot of people hate on
Why?
Chris Paul. A lot of people,
Why?
especially a lot of Phoenix people, especially a lot of Suns fans.
Why? Because he
And you
left.
say he's always hurt.
Oh,
And he's also other than Draymond, he's arguably one of the dirtiest players in the league. I mean, there's
he's a
highlight
little
reels of
chippy.
him. Yeah, Chippy, he does some dirty shit, man.
He
I
is
think there's a
dirty,
lot of
like
people that aren't huge Chris Paul fans. And I think especially the narrative on him recently, these last couple years, has really kind of went down south. But I've always liked Chris Paul. There was a time where I just thought he was such a dog. I thought that if the NBA didn't basically veto the trade and him and Kobe got together, those two on the same team would have been super interesting and probably could have
yeah,
done some damage for a few years. But yeah, nah, I listen. I'd like to see CP3 get a ring. I
yes,
like that organization, the Warriors, how they run their organization. I love Steph, obviously, and he's one of the most exciting players ever to see. So I don't root for any team but the Knicks, but they're a team that I wouldn't mind seeing winning, and I wouldn't mind seeing that story, that narrative play out of CP3 going there and getting his ring.
agreed, 100%.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast. Please like, comment, and share and subscribe. And you can find us on all socials at he_did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you, kid.